They're sort of the opposite of the radical left, okay? You have the radical left and you have the radical right. And they come up with this, I don't know what the hell it is, it's Project 25.
Are you ready? I know nothing about Project 25. I haven't seen the document. I don't intend to really see the document.
I would imagine that most of you probably know about Project 2025 by now. It is a radical, 900-plus page authoritarian playbook for a second Trump administration. But Donald Trump himself has been desperately trying to distance himself from Project 2025 over the last few weeks. He knows that the ideas contained within this conservative manifesto are wildly unpopular, and that the majority of Americans want nothing to do with this. But we now have a bombshell story from the Center for Climate Reporting. They were able to go undercover and get a meeting with Russel Vought. Russel Vought is somebody who has already worked in the first Trump administration, and now he is one of the main architects behind Project 2025. So let's go ahead and get a closer look at who Russel Vought is, and then we'll discuss or look at how they intend to implement this radical agenda if Trump is to get reelected this November. Let's go ahead and kick things off.
Two undercover reporters posing as donors are about to meet one of the key architects of Project 2025, the radical plan for Trump's second term, in a hotel suite rigged with hidden cameras.
Nice to meet you. Would you like coffee or something? I'd love coffee, yeah. Great.
Meet Russ Vought.
Russel Vought, the former director of the Office of Management and Budget.
He's been called the most dangerous MAGA diehard you've never heard of.
I am opposed to the Department of Education because I think it's the Department of Critical Race Theory.
The Russ Vought were comrades in arms.
Formerly a cabinet member and chief lieutenant in the first Trump admin,
I want to thank Russ for doing an incredible job.
he now runs a group called Center for Renewing America.
An organization that I helped turn into the Death Star that is accomplishing all the debates that you are reading about. I think you have to rehabilitate Christian nationalism. You have the largest deportation in history, block funding for Planned Parenthood. I want to be the person that crushes the deep state.
I think alarm bells should be ringing for everybody. He talked about Christian nationalism, mass deportations, blocking funding for Planned Parenthood. This guy is radical. And I think if you're throwing your lot in with people like Steve Bannon, you might want to reconsider your choices. And if you don't think that this guy is close to Trump, I think you would be wrong. The Trump campaign picked Russel Vought to write the Republican platform that they just published a few weeks ago. Let's go ahead and listen to him talk about that really quick.
The Trump campaign recently picked him to write the Republicans' policy platform, making him essentially Project 2025's man on the inside.
I think the best example is like the campaign selected me to be the platform because of their views on my policy ideas, and they're not running from all of the negativity that I get from the press.
I see. So they haven't been spooked on you as a person, you don't think?
No, I mean, I don't think I'm going to be their transition pick because then they have all these kinds of stories.
Yeah.
But no, the relationship is great.
Basically what Russel Vought is saying here is that, hey, I'm too extreme to be the front-facing guy for the transition project, but I'm definitely going to be there on day one, and my relationship with the Trump campaign is A-OK. That is terrifying. Russel Vought is an extremist. That is why the Trump campaign probably wouldn't pick somebody like that to head up their transition team. It wouldn't make any sense. But they are saying that they like his policies. But let's go ahead and look at some of those policies or the types of things that Project 2025 wants to do. We'll kick things off by looking at some fringe legal theories that Russel Vought is trying to push. That way, Trump is able to use the military to squash protests. This is un-American stuff. Let's go ahead and take a look.
Vought has also been preparing documents based on fringe legal theories, arguing the president has the power to use the military against protesters.
George Floyd obviously was not about race. It was about destabilizing the Trump administration. Right. We put out, for instance, a 50-page paper designed for lawyers to know that the president has, the ability both along the border and elsewhere to maintain law and order with the military, and that's something that it's going to be important for him to remember and his lawyers to affirm. But we've given them the case for that.
He's wanting to deploy the American military domestically. He wants to send them to the border or use the military to crush protests and protesters. This is something Donald Trump already tried to do in his first term. But now they are drawing up plans and working with fringe legal theories so that he can declare like the Insurrection Act or use that whenever he wants. So he can use the military like a fascist state would use the military. This is just unacceptable. This is un-American stuff. Project 2025 is un-American. They also talk about their radical anti-abortion policies. Let's go ahead and listen to him talk about that.
With loyalists installed in key government agencies and armed with his playbook, Vought believes a radical Christian nationalist agenda can be realized under a second Trump presidency. For example, on abortion.
So I think the president's actually come up with a strategy that works so long as you are giving people like me in the government the ability to block funding for Planned Parenthood, block funding for fetal tissue research. What I've told people is he had the most pro-life record ever. I've never seen him to stand in the way of a pro-life initiative that actually was real, politically and with momentum.
So Russel Vought seems pretty confident that he'll be able to implement any pro-life policies that he wants. He said that Trump has never stood in the way of pro-life policy objectives, so why would things be different in a second Trump term? And he's talking about stopping funding for fetal research or tissue research, whatever he said. These are crazy ideas. That type of research is paramount to medicine. We've made so many gains, and these people just want to roll us all back and try to implement a Christian nationalist system here in the United States. That is antithetical to what America is supposed to be. And if you think these guys aren't preparing or will be prepared on day one, we'd probably be wrong there too. Let's listen to one of Russel Vought's aides talk about how they're going about this phase 2 of implementing these policies on day one. Let's go ahead and listen to how he talks about this secretive plan.
We make the acquaintance of Mika Meadowcroft, an author on Project 2025 and a close aide to Vought. He tells us that Vought is running the secretive second phase of Project 2025.
And the second phase after the book came out was to break down like actual sort of policy packets and like executive orders and agenda items and things like that. That's been supervised largely by us.
So not only have they published the 920-page conservative manifesto called the Mandate for Leadership, what we know is Project 2025, but there is a phase 2 to their plan where they are working on executive orders, policy packets. That way when Donald Trump becomes president, they've got something to hand him and they can start implementing their batshit crazy ideas on day one. That is what he is talking about here. This should terrify each and every one of us. These ideas are antithetical to the United States and what our founding fathers had in mind for our republic. These people are extreme. They are constantly the ones talking about tyranny of the minority, but these people right here, the people that we're talking about, they are the minority, and they are trying to rule the majority. They would be the tyranny of the minority. And we even have them talking about how they want to avoid accountability, which should be an absolute non-starter for anybody trying to hold a position of power. If there's no way for us to hold you accountable, then you shouldn't be working in the government. Let's go ahead and listen to them talk about that.
Yeah. Because obviously you want as little of it to be FOIA-able, if you're familiar with the FOIA process, as possible.
Freedom of Information Act, yeah.
The Freedom of Information Act allows the public to request government communications, but Meadowcroft reveals they plan to avoid these rules.
Yeah, the goal is, familiarize all the transition team people with these plans, but you don't actually, send them to their work emails, because then, you could just give the handbooks to everyone, be like, this is the game plan for the admin.
Yeah.
But if the press knows that that's what you're doing, then they're going to immediately just say, I request all of your emails from Heritage.
Okay.
You
right.
worker.
I see.
So we'll see.
Interesting.
So basically, they're devising plans to hide this stuff. Like I said, this should be absolutely unacceptable for anybody seeking any position in our government. We have a constitutional republic, a democracy, and part of that democracy is checks and balances, one of which is the media being able to request those types of documents and being able to hold government workers accountable. But these people want to bypass that altogether and make all of this stuff secret. And why? Probably because they know their ideas suck. Their ideas do not hold majority support. It is a fringe minority of people that want to see America turned into a Christian nationalist authoritarian state. I am not one of those people. And these people are working right now to be prepared on day one. And Russel Vought seems pretty confident that he'll be able to hand over these policy packets and executive orders and whatever else to implement their agenda on day one. Let's go ahead and listen to him talk about that.
Says that no matter who is named, he'll be able to hand over his Project 2025 battle plans directly.
If it's someone like Stephen Miller or Bob Lighthizer, then all this stuff gets plugged right in. If it's not, we'll figure it out.
Okay.
But all of it will be designed for a theory of the case that President, if a battle plan is out there that will do what he wants, there are people like me that have his trust that will be able to get it to him in whatever position we're at, or I could be at Center for New America, but the relationships will be there, the trust level will be there.
This should terrify everybody. These people are coordinated. It sounds like they are working hard to make sure that the next conservative administration, the Trump administration, goes off without a hitch. And what they're talking about is implementing a policy agenda that the majority of Americans would not be okay with. That's why they have to keep it secret. That's why they talk about different methods of passing on information. That way it can't be retrieved by the press or any other accountability agencies. These people should be disqualified from seeking office for the rest of their lives. I view these people as un-American. People like this should come nowhere near power because they don't believe in our system of democracy. This policy agenda and their secretiveness and their batshit crazy ideas are proof of that. They want to turn America into a Christian nationalist authoritarian state. They want to roll up as much power as possible into the executive branch. That's why they have things like firing tens of thousands of federal employees and replacing them with Trump loyalists. That way, when they go to implement a crazy policy, people don't stand in their way. They either agree or look the other way. That is unacceptable. I, for one, like the system that we have here in the United States. The democracy seems to function fairly well. We have our problems, but it's one of the best systems in all of the world. And these people are doing whatever they can to ruin that, to radically reshape what we know is our democracy. So we need to make sure that people are spreading this stuff far and wide. Super grateful that the Center for Climate Reporting was able to do this work. I commend them for getting in there and doing this. And I will link their original video in the description. Please, everybody go watch it. It is a 9 or 10 minute watch, and it is well worth every single minute. We need to be prepared to counter these people at the ballot box this November. So we need to make sure that everybody knows about this insane policy agenda that is Project 2025. So that's going to do it for me on this one, folks. If you got anything out of this video, if you could remember to smash that like button and hit subscribe, maybe share it with a friend or two, I'd very much appreciate that. If you think I got something wrong, or if you disagree with me about something, feel free to drop a comment below. And if you want to learn about other connections to Project 2025 and Trump, go ahead and watch that video on the screen now. And I will see you guys on the next one.